The morning sun came through the tall windows of Hall 7 at the Galactic Academy. It was the biggest lecture hall on the space station. 300 students sat in curved rows that went up like stairs. They came from 20 different planets. Some had blue skin. Some had 4 arms. Some floated in special tanks because they needed water to breathe. Professor Nali stood at the front. She was from the planet Erith. Her skin was pale purple, and she had large black eyes. She taught galactic history to all first-year students. Today she was talking about the Great Peace Treaty that ended the last war 200 years ago. In the third row from the front, a human girl named Yuna sat with her notebook open. She was 19 years old and came from a small city in Korea on Earth. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore the gray uniform of the academy like everyone else. She was one of only 12 humans at the school. Next to her sat Taiho. He was also human and also Korean. He was 20 years old and had been at the academy for 1 year already. He helped Yuna when she first arrived 3 months ago. Now they were good friends. Taiho was writing notes quickly. Yuna was listening but also looking around the room. She always found it amazing to see so many different species in one place. On Earth, she had only seen aliens on television. Now she lived with them every day. Professor Nali pointed at a large screen behind her. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colors for different empires. The Treaty of Kilos brought peace to our region, she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried well in the big room. For 200 years, no major war has happened. This is because all species agreed to solve problems with words, not weapons. A student in the back raised a tentacle. It was a young Morvian. They looked like large octopuses, but could breathe air. Professor, what about the Velden Empire? They did not sign the treaty. Professor Nali nodded slowly. That is correct. The Velden Empire chose to stay separate. They believe in strength above all else. They think peace makes species weak. Yuna had heard about the Veldens before. They were tall warriors with 4 eyes and thick skin like armor. They controlled a large part of the galaxy far from Earth. Most species tried to stay away from them. Taiho leaned toward Yuna and whispered, I heard the Veldens eat their enemies. Yuna smiled a little. That sounds like a story to scare children. Maybe, Taiho said, but I would not want to meet one. At that moment, the doors of the lecture hall opened with a loud bang. Everyone turned to look. Even Professor Nali stopped speaking and stared. A Velden walked in. No, he did not walk. He marched. His steps were heavy and made the floor shake slightly. He was almost 8 feet tall. His skin was dark gray and looked like stone. He had 4 yellow eyes that glowed in the light. He wore black armor with gold symbols on the chest. Behind him came 4 more Veldens. They were smaller, but still huge compared to most species in the room. They carried weapons that looked like long spears with glowing tips. The students began to whisper. Some looked scared. A few tried to move toward the exits at the sides of the room. Stay in your seats, the big Velden shouted. His voice was deep and loud like thunder. No one leaves until I say so. Professor Nali stepped forward. Her hands were shaking, but she tried to sound calm. I am Professor Nali. This is a place of learning. You have no right to... Silence, the Velden said. He did not even look at her. His 4 eyes moved slowly across the room, looking at each row of students. Yuna watched him carefully. She did not move. She did not look away. She kept her face calm and her breathing steady. Taiho next to her was gripping the edge of his desk so hard that his fingers turned white. I am General Krav of the Velden Empire, the big alien announced. I am here for a simple reason. He walked down the center path between the rows of seats. His guards stayed by the door. Students moved their legs out of his way as he passed. One small alien, a creature covered in fur, actually fell out of its seat trying to get away from him. General Krov stopped in the center of the room and turned in a slow circle. He wanted everyone to see him clearly. 3 years ago, a new species joined the Galactic Council, he said. They call themselves humans. They come from a small planet called Earth at the edge of the galaxy. Una felt many eyes turned toward her. There were only 2 humans in this class, her and Taiho. Everyone knew who the general was talking about. I have watched these humans, Krov continued. I have studied them. They are small. They are weak. They have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. They cannot survive in space without machines. They cannot even see in the dark. Some students in the room nodded. What the general said was true. Humans were not impressive compared to many alien species. And yet, Krov said, his voice growing louder, these weak creatures now have a seat on the council. They vote on matters that affect the entire galaxy. They think they are equal to species that have traveled to stars for 10,000 years. He laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks grinding together. I say this is wrong. I say humans do not deserve their place. I say they should prove their worth or lose their seat forever. Professor Nali tried again to speak. General, this is not the proper way to... Krov raised one massive hand and she went silent. Not because he threatened her, but because of the look in his 4 eyes. It was the look of someone who had killed many times and would not hesitate to kill again. I am issuing a challenge, General Krov said. The old way. The true way. 1 champion from the humans will fight 1 champion from the Veldans. If the human wins, your species keeps its seat on the council. If the human loses, you leave and never return. The room erupted in whispers and gasps. This was unheard of. Challenges like this had not happened in centuries. They belonged to ancient history, not to the modern age. Una felt Taiho grab her arm. This is crazy, he whispered. They cannot do this. But Una watched General Krov's face. She saw the confidence there. She saw that he had planned this carefully. He knew exactly what he was doing. And looking at the guards by the door and the fear in everyone's eyes, she understood something important, that no one was going to stop him. The lecture hall was filled with noise. Students were talking, some were crying, and others were trying to reach the doors. But the Veldan guards stood firm. No one could leave. General Krov stood in the center of the room with his arms crossed over his chest. He looked pleased with the chaos he had created. His 4 yellow eyes moved slowly, watching everyone panic. Quiet, he said. The word was not loud, but somehow it cut through all the noise. Everyone stopped and looked at him. I will have my answer now. Where is the human champion? Professor Nali moved forward again. This time, her voice was stronger. General, I must ask you to leave. You have no authority here. The Academy is neutral ground. It belongs to no empire. Krov turned to look at her. I know the laws, Professor, but I also know that no one will stop me. The council is far away. Their ships would take days to reach this station. By then, I will have my answer. He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. And if no human steps forward, I will take that as their surrender. They will give up their seat without a fight. Either way, I win. Una listened carefully. She understood now what the general was doing. He had come to a school, not a military base. There were no human soldiers here. No warriors. Just students and teachers. He thought no one would challenge him. She looked around the room. The other human in the class, Taiho, was still holding her arm. His face was pale. He was strong for a human, but she knew he was not a fighter. He had told her once that he wanted to be a diplomat, someone who solved problems with words. "We should hide," Taiho whispered. "If they do not find us, maybe they will leave." Yuna shook her head slowly. "They already know we are here. Look at how the other students are looking at us." It was true. Many eyes in the room kept turning toward them. Everyone knew they were the only humans in the class. Some looked sorry for them. Others looked like they wished the humans would just give up, so this would end. General Krav raised his voice again. "I grow tired of waiting. If no human will answer my challenge, I will find one myself." He began to walk through the rows of seats. Students pushed back to get away from him. He was looking at faces, searching. Yuna knew he was looking for humans. Taiho tried to slide lower in his seat. "Yuna, we need to sit up straight," Yuna said quietly. Her voice was calm and steady. "Do not show fear." "What?" Taiho stared at her. "Are you crazy?" "That thing will kill us." Yuna did not answer. She was thinking. Her mind went back to her home on Earth. She remembered her grandmother's house in the mountains. She remembered the training hall behind the house. She remembered her grandfather teaching her things that most people had forgotten. The general was getting closer. He was only 2 rows away now. Yuna could hear his heavy breathing and smell something like burnt metal coming from his armor. "There," someone said. A student with green skin pointed at Yuna and Taiho. "The humans are there." Krav turned and looked directly at them. His 4 eyes focused and a slow smile spread across his face. "Ah, there you are," he said. He walked toward them, pushing a desk aside like it weighed nothing. 2 little humans trying to hide. Taiho stood up suddenly. His legs were shaking, but he stepped in front of Yuna. "I am not hiding." "And neither is she." Yuna felt a moment of warmth in her chest. Taiho was scared, but he was still trying to protect her. He was a good person, but this was not his fight. General Krav looked at Taiho and laughed. You? You want to fight me? Look at you. You are shaking like a leaf." "I am not shaking because I am scared," Taiho said, though everyone could see that was not true. "I am shaking because I am angry. You come into our school, you threaten our people, and you think we will just give up." Krav leaned down until his face was close to Taiho's. "Yes, that is exactly what I think. Because if you do not give up, I will break every bone in your body. I will send you back to Earth in pieces. Is that what you want?" Taiho opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, Yuna stood up. "I will answer your challenge," she said. The words were quiet but clear. Everyone heard them. The entire room went silent again. Krav straightened up and looked at her. For a moment, he seemed confused. Then he laughed harder than before. "You?" He pointed at her with one thick finger. "A girl? A tiny human girl?" Yuna stepped past Taiho and stood facing the general. The top of her head barely reached his chest. She had to look up to meet his eyes. "Yes," she said. "Me." Taiho grabbed her shoulder. "Yuna, no. You cannot do this. He will kill you." "He will try," Yuna said without looking away from Krav. The general stopped laughing. He studied her face with his 4 eyes. He saw something there that he did not expect. Her eyes were calm. Her breathing was steady. Her hands hung loosely at her sides. "Interesting," Krav said slowly. "Most creatures show fear when they face me. You do not. Either you are very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both," Yuna said. Krav smiled again, but this time it was different. There was something like respect in his eyes, mixed with hunger. He liked challenges. He liked fighting. And he could see that this human girl, despite her size, was not afraid of him. "What is your name, human?" he asked. "Yuna? Just Yuna? No title? No rank?" "Just Yuna." Krav nodded slowly. Very well, just Yuna. I accept your challenge. Tonight at sunset, we will fight in the arena at the center of the station. The whole galaxy will watch. And when I break you, everyone will know that humans are nothing. He turned and began to walk toward the door. His guards moved aside to let him pass. Professor Nali rushed toward Yuna. Child, what have you done? You are a student. You are not trained for combat. He's a military general who has fought in 100 battles. Yuna looked at the professor calmly. I know who he is, and I know what I have to do. Taihao was still standing next to her, his face full of fear and confusion. Yuna, please tell me you have a plan. Please tell me there is something I do not know about you. Yuna finally smiled. It was a small smile, just a tiny curve of her lips. There are many things you do not know about me, Taiho, but you will find out tonight. General Krav stopped at the door and looked back at her. One more thing, human. The fight is to the death. I will not stop until one of us is dead. Do you still accept? Everyone in the room held their breath. They waited for Yuna to change her mind, to break down, to admit she had made a mistake. Instead, she simply nodded. I accept. Krav smiled one last time. Brave, stupid, but brave. Then he walked out with his guards, and the doors closed behind them with a heavy sound. The room exploded with noise again. Students were talking, yelling, crying. Professor Nali was calling for security. Taiho was asking Yuna 100 questions, but Yuna just stood there, looking at the closed door, her face as calm as still water. She had made her choice. Now she had to prepare. The hours after General Krav left moved slowly for everyone except Yuna. News of the challenge spread across the station in minutes. Every screen, every communication device, every corner of the academy was talking about the same thing. A human girl had accepted a death match against a Vuldan general. Yuna walked through the halls toward her room. Students from many species stopped and stared at her. Some looked at her with pity. Others looked at her like she was already dead. A few, just a few, looked at her with something like hope. Taiho followed close behind her. He had not stopped talking since they left the lecture hall. This is insane, Yuna. Completely insane. We need to call someone. The human embassy, maybe. Or the council. Someone has to stop this. No one can stop it now, Yuna said calmly. She did not slow down. I accepted the challenge. To take it back would shame all humans. We would lose our seat on the council anyway. But you will die. Taiho grabbed her arm and made her stop. His eyes were red and wet. Is the council seat worth your life? Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Then she placed her hand on his cheek gently. It is not just about the seat, Taiho. If I run away now, every alien in this galaxy will see humans as cowards. They will think they can push us around forever. Someone has to stand up. Someone has to show them what we are made of. Why does it have to be you? Yuna smiled softly. Because I was there. Because I can. Taiho shook his head but did not say anything more. They continued walking until they reached Yuna's small room. It was simple, with a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out at the stars. Yuna closed the door and sat on her bed. For the first time since the morning, she allowed herself to take a deep breath. The calm she showed in front of others was real, but that did not mean she felt nothing. Her heart was beating faster than normal. Her hands wanted to shake Dot, but she did not let them. There was a knock at the door. Yuna opened it and found not just Taiho but 5 other humans standing outside. She recognized them all. They were the other human students at the academy. Jisoo was the oldest at 23. She was studying medicine. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. Behind her stood Minho and Hajin, twin brothers who both studied engineering. Sora was small with big glasses, and she was the smartest person Yuna had ever met. Finally, there was Dawn, a tall young man who rarely spoke but always watched everything carefully. "We came to help," Jisoo said. Her voice was firm. "Whatever you need, we will do it." Yuna stepped aside to let them in. Her small room was suddenly very crowded, but no one complained. "Do you have any experience fighting?" Hejin asked. He looked nervous. "Please tell me you have some secret training or something." Yuna sat back on her bed and looked at all of them. These were her people. The only other humans on this station, far from Earth, far from home. She owed them the truth. "My grandfather was a master of an old martial art," she said. "When I was young, he trained me every day. He was very strict and very traditional. He taught me how to fight, how to move, how to use my body as a weapon." The room was silent for a moment. Then Minho spoke. "That is good, right? That means you know how to fight." "I know how to fight humans," Yuna said carefully. "My grandfather taught me to fight people with 2 arms, 2 legs, and bones that break in certain ways. General Krav is not human. He has 4 eyes, skin like stone, and is 3 times my size. I do not know if what I learned will work on him." Sora pushed her glasses up her nose. "Then we need to learn everything we can about Veldans. Their bodies, their weaknesses, their fighting style. I can search the Academy database. Their weakness?" Dawan spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and slow. "I heard Veldans have no weaknesses." "Everything has a weakness," Yuna said. "We just need to find it." For the next few hours, the small group worked together. Sora pulled information from the Academy computers. Jisoo studied Veldan biology with her medical knowledge. The twins looked for any records of Veldans being defeated in combat. Taiho contacted other humans on distant stations to ask for advice. Dohun simply sat and listened, taking in everything. Slowly, they began to build a picture. Veldans were strong and tough. Their skin could stop most blades and even some energy weapons. They were fast for their size and had excellent vision with their 4 eyes. They had been warriors for thousands of years and had conquered dozens of planets, but they were not perfect. "Here," Sora said suddenly. She pointed at her screen. "Their joints. The places where their bones connect. Their skin is thick everywhere else, but at the joints, it has to be thinner so they can move." Jisoo nodded slowly. "That makes sense from a medical view. The elbows, knees, neck, and especially the back of the legs. Those areas would be vulnerable. Also here," Sora continued, pointing at another diagram. "Behind their ears. There is a nerve cluster there. A strong hit to that spot could cause pain and confusion." Yuna studied the information carefully. She memorized every detail. Joints, behind the ears, the back of the knees. "What about their fighting style?" she asked. Hejin pulled up some videos. They showed Veldan warriors in combat. The fights were brutal and short. The Veldans used their size and strength to overwhelm their enemies. They grabbed, crushed, and threw their opponents around like toys. "They rely on power," Yuna observed. "They are not used to enemies who can match their strength, so they never learn to fight any other way." "You cannot match his strength," Taiho said quietly. "You know that, right?" "I know." Yuna stood up and stretched her arms. "That is why I will not try to. I will be faster. I will be smarter. I will make him miss and tire himself out. And when the moment comes, I will strike where it hurts most." The sun outside the window was starting to set. The station's artificial sky was turning orange and purple. Time was running out. Yuna looked at her friends. These humans who had come together to help her. She felt grateful and proud. "Thank you," she said. "All of you. Whatever happens tonight, I am glad I did not face this alone." Jisoo stepped forward and hugged her tightly. You are not going to die, Yuna. You are going to win. And then you are going to come back here, and we are going to celebrate until the sun comes up. Yuna hugged her back. That sounds nice. One by one, the others came forward to wish her well. Taiho was last. He looked at her with eyes full of worry and something else that neither of them had ever spoken about. Come back, he said simply. I will try, Yuna answered. Then she picked up a small bag from under her bed. Inside was a simple white uniform, worn and old. It had belonged to her grandfather. He had given it to her before she left Earth, telling her that one day she might need it. Today was that day. Why? Una changed into the uniform and tied her hair back tightly. She looked at herself in the small mirror on the wall. She did not see a scared girl. She saw a warrior. It was time to go. The arena was at the heart of the station. It was a large circular space with seats rising up on all sides. In ancient times, it had been used for combat between species to settle disputes. Now it was mostly used for sports and ceremonies. Tonight, it would serve its original purpose once again. Thousands of beings filled the seats. They came from every corner of the station and beyond. Ships had arrived from nearby systems just to watch. Screens all across the galaxy were broadcasting the fight live. Everyone wanted to see if the young human girl could survive against the Velden general. Most believed she could not. Yuna walked into the arena from a tunnel on the east side. She wore her grandfather's white uniform. Her feet were bare on the cold stone floor. She carried no weapons. Her hands were empty. The crowd made noise when she appeared. Some cheered for her. Many laughed at her. She heard words in dozens of languages, but she understood the meaning well enough. Small. Weak. Dead. She did not react. She walked to the center of the arena and stood there, waiting. From the west tunnel came General Krav. He had removed his armor and wore only simple black pants. His gray skin gleamed under the lights. His muscles were huge, like rocks piled on top of each other. His 4 eyes glowed yellow as he looked at Una. The crowd roared for him. He was famous. He was powerful. He was the favorite. Krav walked slowly to the center and stopped 5 feet from Una. Up close, the difference between them was almost silly. He was a mountain. She was a flower. An announcer's voice boomed through the arena. This is a challenge fight under the old laws. The battle is to the death. There are no rules except that no weapons may be used. The fight begins when both champions are ready. Krav cracked his neck. The sound was like tree branches breaking. Are you ready to die, little human? Una took a slow breath. She raised her hands in front of her, loose and open. Her feet moved apart slightly into a solid stance. I am ready. Krav smiled with all his teeth. Then let us begin. He attacked without warning. His fist came at Una like a boulder falling from the sky. If it hit her, it would crush her skull. But it did not hit her. Una moved. Not backward, but to the side. Her body flowed like water around the punch. Krav's fist struck the air where she had been standing half a second before. The crowd gasped. Krov turned and swung again, this time with his other arm. Una ducked under it and stepped past him. Her hand shot out and struck the back of his knee with her palm. The general stumbled. Just a little. Just for a moment. But it was enough to make the crowd go silent. You are fast, Krav said, turning to face her again. Good. I was worried this would be boring. He attacked again, faster this time. Punch after punch, grab after grab. His arms moved like machine parts, each strike strong enough to break stone walls. And each time, Una was not there. She moved around him, under him, past him. Her body never stopped flowing. To the crowd, it looked like magic. But it was not magic. It was years and years of training. Thousands of hours of practice. Every day, since she was 5 years old, her grandfather had taught her how to read an opponent's body, how to see where a strike would go before it started, how to use an enemy's power against them. Krav was growing frustrated. His breathing was getting heavier. Sweat appeared on his stone-like skin. He was not used to missing. He was not used to enemies who moved like ghosts. "Stand still," he roared. He charged at her with both arms wide, trying to grab her in a crushing hug. Yuna waited until the last moment. Then she dropped to the ground, rolled between his legs, and came up behind him. Before he could turn, she jumped and struck the spot behind his left ear with the heel of her hand. The sound was like a drum being hit. Krav stumbled forward, shaking his head. For a moment, his 4 eyes looked confused. The crowd erupted in shock. The human had hurt him. The tiny human girl had actually hurt the mighty General Dodd, but Krav was not finished. He spun around with a backhand swing that caught Yuna's shoulder. The blow sent her flying across the arena. She hit the ground hard and rolled several times before stopping. Pain exploded through her body. She could feel her shoulder was not broken, but it was badly hurt. She forced herself to stand, even though her vision swam. "There," Krav said, walking toward her. "You are fast, but I only need to hit you once. And now you are hurt." Yuna's left arm hung at her side, weak and painful. She could not use it properly anymore, but she still had her right arm. She still had her legs. She still had her mind. "One arm is enough," she said quietly. Krav laughed and swung at her again. This time, she was slower because of the pain. His fist came so close that she felt the wind from it on her face. But she still dodged. She still moved, and as his arm passed by her, she grabbed his wrist with her good hand and pulled. At the same time, she kicked the back of his knee as hard as she could. Physics took over. Krav's own weight and power worked against him. He fell forward and down, crashing onto one knee. Before he could recover, Yuna jumped onto his back and wrapped her arm around his thick neck. She squeezed. Krav roared and stood up, trying to reach behind him to grab her. But she was on his back, holding his neck, cutting off the blood to his brain. He swung around wildly, slamming himself against the walls of the arena, trying to crush her. The impacts hurt. Each one sent pain through Yuna's already injured shoulder. But she did not let go. She could not let go. Krav's movements began to slow. His 4 eyes started to close. His legs shook. "Impossible," he gasped. His voice was weak now. "How? How can this?" Yuna pulled tighter. "My grandfather taught me that the body is a machine. Every machine has an off switch. Yours is the same as a human's." Krav fell to his knees, then forward onto his hands, then flat on his face. The arena was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Yuna released her hold and rolled off the general's back. She stood up slowly, her whole body shaking from pain and exhaustion. She looked down at Krav. He was unconscious but still breathing. The fight was supposed to be to the death. She could kill him now. It would be easy. One strong strike to the throat would end it. But Yuna did not move to attack. Instead, she turned to face the crowd. Thousands of eyes stared at her in shock and disbelief. She was hurt. She was tired. But she was still standing, and the general was not. She took a deep breath and spoke. Her voice was not loud, but somehow it carried through the silent arena. "I did not come here to kill. I came here to prove that humans are not weak, that we deserve our place among the stars. General Krav challenged us because he thought we would break. He was wrong." She looked down at the unconscious Volden. "He will live. And when he wakes up, he will remember this night. He will remember that a human girl, half his size, defeated him without a weapon. Yuna raised her right arm to the sky. Humanity stands tall. Send anybody? The silence in the arena lasted for what felt like forever. Then, slowly, the noise began. It started as whispers, then murmurs, then voices rising, overlapping, growing louder and louder until the whole place shook with sound. They were cheering, not all of them. Some of the Velden supporters sat in angry silence. Some looked like they could not believe what they had seen. But the majority of the crowd, beings from 100 different worlds, were on their feet and cheering for the small human girl who had done the impossible. Yuna stood in the center of the arena, her right arm still raised. She was in pain. Her left shoulder was screaming. Her whole body wanted to collapse. But she forced herself to stay standing. She knew the galaxy was watching. She could not show weakness now. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor. Some went to General Krov, who was still unconscious. Others came toward Yuna, but she waved them away with her good hand. I can walk, she said, and she did walk. Step by step, she made her way toward the eastern tunnel where she had entered. Each step took tremendous effort, but her face stayed calm. The crowd continued to cheer as she disappeared into the shadows of the tunnel. Taeho was waiting there, along with the other humans. The moment she was out of sight of the crowd, Yuna's legs finally gave out. Taeho caught her before she hit the ground. I have you, he said, his voice breaking. I have you. Jisoo rushed forward with medical equipment. Her shoulder is dislocated, and there might be fractures. We need to get her to the medical center now. They carried her through the back corridors of the station. Yuna drifted in and out of consciousness. She heard voices around her, felt hands supporting her, saw lights passing overhead. Everything felt like a dream. When she woke up fully, she was in a white room. A hospital room. Soft light came through the windows. Her left arm was in a special cast that glowed faintly with healing energy. Taeho was sitting in a chair next to her bed. He was asleep, his head resting on the edge of the mattress. When she moved slightly, he woke up immediately. Yuna. He grabbed her right hand. You are awake. How do you feel? Like a ship crashed into me, she said. Her voice was rough and dry. How long was I asleep? 2 days. Taeho poured her a glass of water and helped her drink. The doctor said you had a dislocated shoulder, 3 cracked ribs, and a lot of bruising. They said it was a miracle you stayed standing as long as you did. Yuna smiled weakly. Grandfather would say miracles are just hard work that people do not see. The door opened and the other humans came in. Jisoo, Minho, Hejin, Sora, and Doan. They surrounded her bed with worried faces that slowly turned into smiles when they saw she was awake. You scared us, Sora said, pushing her glasses up. You really scared us. I know. I am sorry. Yuna looked at each of them. What happened after I passed out? What happened to the challenge? Taeho squeezed her hand. You won. The council declared the challenge complete. Humanity keeps its seat. In fact, they gave us more than that. More? Hejin nodded excitedly. The council was so impressed that they voted to give humans a permanent seat. Not just a trial membership anymore. We are now full members of the galactic community. Forever. Yuna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The pain in her body seemed to matter less now. All those hours of training, all those years of hard work, all the sacrifices her grandfather had made to teach her. It was all worth it. What about General Krov? She asked. The room went quiet for a moment. Then Jisoo spoke carefully. He survived. When he woke up, his guards wanted to attack again, to seek revenge. But Krov stopped them. He stopped them? Yes, he said. Jisoo paused, looking unsure. He said he had never met a worthier opponent. He said he was wrong about humans. He returned to Velden space with his guards. Before he left, he sent a message for you. Yuna raised an eyebrow. A message? Dohan pulled out a small device and pressed a button. General Krov's voice filled the room. It was different now, less angry, almost respectful. Human girl called Yuna. I have fought 1,000 battles against 100 species. I have never lost. Until now. You have shown me that I was blind. Strength is not only about size and power. It is also about will and spirit. You have both in amounts I have rarely seen. I will tell my people what happened here. I will tell them that humans are not to be looked down upon. You have earned my respect and the respect of the Velden Empire. Perhaps one day we will meet again. Not as enemies, but as equals. The message ended. The room was silent. Yuna stared at the device in wonder. She had expected anger, threats, promises of revenge. Not respect. Not equality. The galaxy is changing because of you, Taiho said softly. People everywhere saw what you did. You gave them hope. You showed them that even the smallest person can stand against the biggest bully and win. Over the next few weeks, Yuna received messages from all over the galaxy. Humans on distant colonies thanked her. Young members of other species said she inspired them to be brave. Even the leaders of the Galactic Council sent their congratulations, but Yuna did not care much about fame or glory. As soon as she was well enough to move around, she went back to class. She sat in the same seat in Hall 7 where everything had started. She opened her notebook and began to write down what Professor Naily was teaching. Taiho sat next to her, shaking his head in amazement. You just changed galactic history, and you want to take notes in history class. Yuna smiled without looking up from her notebook. History is important. That is why I fought to make sure we are part of it. Professor Naily noticed Yuna in the class and stopped her lecture. The whole room turned to look at her. Some students started to clap, then more joined, until the entire hall was filled with applause. Yuna looked up, her cheeks turning slightly red. She was not used to this much attention. She preferred the quiet, the training, the simple life her grandfather had taught her to love. She raised her hand, and the applause slowly died down. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was calm and clear, the same voice that had echoed through the arena. But I did not fight for applause. I fought because it was the right thing to do. Because when someone tells you that your people are not good enough, you do not run and hide. You stand up. You face them. And you show them who you really are. She looked around at all the different faces in the room. Aliens of every color and shape, from worlds she had never seen and might never visit. That is what it means to be human. We are small. We are young. We have only been traveling the stars for a short time. But we do not give up. We do not back down. And if anyone ever challenges us again... She paused and smiled slightly, remembering the words she had spoken in the arena. Send anybody. The room erupted in cheers once more. But Yuna just turned back to her notebook and continued writing. There was still so much to learn, so much to do, so many ways to grow. The fight was over. But for humanity among the stars, the journey was just beginning.